Bitcoin, crypto, morning tea.
What else is there other than Bitcoin? What other mechanisms do we have? I mean, we need to internalize that democracy has failed. We will not vote our way out of this. There is absolutely no way. Civil protesting and peaceful protesting does have some usefulness, but as we have seen, the governments are willing to go all the way and crush us as individuals. And I think as a culture and society, people are just not willing to reciprocate in that respect. So that's not happening. So what other mechanisms do we have? We need to bankrupt them. We need to make sure that they cannot pay the enforcers, they cannot pay the bureaucrats. The only way we can remove their resources is by creating a Bitcoin standard, which they will not be able to live under. The libertarian movement, I think, has failed. And if Bitcoin is not the answer, then please someone tell me what's the alternative. I think that we should be getting everybody that's involved in politics and trying to make incremental change to switch to the Bitcoin mindset. And I'm very happy that with the trucker movement, I hope that we were able to send this message out to freedom fighters all over the world and tell them, guys, Bitcoin is the only way, the only mechanism that we have that's actually peaceful. So if you want to remain peaceful, then hop onto Bitcoin because that's our only option.
That was, I believe, the CEO of Bull Bitcoin. He's such a badass. Can you believe that? Imagine if everyone who owned a company was that much of a badass and wanted only freedom for everyone, complete financial sovereignty for the individual. Imagine how different our lives would be. I'm assuming maybe one day we may, through Bitcoin, we may get there. But let's take a look at this Bitcoin price. Basically, exactly where we were yesterday, we left off. Now, my bullish delusion today is at 62.4. Basically, it's where with this channel of ascension will pop out. And if good old Scotch on the Rocks, booze breath, Jerry Pow Pow, in between drinks on the links, has some bullish doves leak out of his innuendo, we should hit 62.4. However, right now, we are just consolidating, doing nothing. And I always wondered to myself, how come we can do nothing for so long? Drew, please tell me how. Why? Why does it take so long?
Yeah, man. I mean, I really actually think this is kind of par for the course, honestly. I know that, and really I've been dealing with a lot of folks that they're heavier in altcoin bags and they saw March and they made 10x gains, but then they didn't take profits. So they rode it all the way back down, right? Bitcoin, if you account for inflation, like the buying power of the dollar in comparison to the 4-year cycle and the Bitcoin price altogether, with that new variable, because they printed our money into a heavier portion of inflation, which lowers your buying power, we're actually ranging essentially right where we should be with all of those macroeconomic factors played in. And the reason why I say that is, like, when we hit the 64,000 last bull market cycle, that was the true top, because the velocity of their printing between 64 and 69 actually lowered the buying power of the dollar. So if we actually do want to breach a true all-time high in terms of buying power, then we have to breach over $80,000 right now per Bitcoin. And this is the skewed metric that we have going on right now, because we're evaluating Bitcoin, this actual value, with fiat, which is printable value that they enforce by violence. So that's kind of the conundrum I think we're stuck in here right now, is looking at those metrics comparatively. I think that diminishment of buying power actually does change a lot of TA and a lot of expectations in the markets. And by time frame, we're cruising right along, man. We're only 125 days after the halving. And I felt really, really good watching the washout from the Japanese yen trade. Not because I like seeing I do like seeing gargantuan red candles. Actually, I'll take that back. So I was able to build my bag bigger. I'm taking these moments of weakness as opportunity. It's gone great so far. And just trying to find more ways to create more streams of income for my family, so that we can continue DCAing all the way up until November.
Is that your DCA stop?
Yes, It is my DCA stop. Essentially, after November, if I am going to be getting into a project, it's going to have to be a very new project with a very novel technological advancement, and a strong business development push on Twitter, on YouTube. I need to see that thing being slammed out of the market in the frothiest time of the bull. Because the last bull market, that was where I found some of the very, very violent movers that made huge gains overnight, and well, not really overnight. But I mean, some of them were overnight. But Polygon was a few cents. It went up to $2 in very quick fashion. Loop Ring, no one even remembers what Loop Ring was, but I bought it for a few cents and it went up to $2 as well. So there's many, many things I can find in there. And I'm saying this as a seasonal Bitcoin maximalist. I understand people that, and I respect people that leave their value in Bitcoin because that's the king kugla. That is the real driving factor of the markets here. So I have no qualms becoming a Bitcoin maximalist come mid 2025, end of 2025. Honestly, come 2026, I'm going to be a real estate, chicken, garden, and tank maximalist because I think things are going to get weird. So.
Unbelievable. The tank. Have you got one
Yeah.
yet? I remember last
No,
week.
I got my eyes on. I know I got my eyes on a few. I'm kind of racing this dude, Crypto Man Sam, though. He lives up here in Georgia, and me and him are eyeballing everything. But really, I don't want to spend more than like 20 or 30 bucks on a small armored one. You know what I mean? Just something that can slip through the trees. I don't want a tracked one.
Well, I'm surprised that there's multiple tanks to purchase. I would think that if there was a tank, there would be a tank. One. Are you
listen, you can also learn welding, and go to your local scrapyard.
A killdozer.
I'm from Colorado, man. I remember Granby well. But sometimes reasonable men have to do unreasonable things. Like, where's the world going? Is it going in a place where we feel like we're being represented? Is it going in a place where we feel like the average person is being heard right now? Like some very, very serious questions to be asked here. And I can't even say the word. I say selection process, selection season, because I know the algorithmic systems are pushing channels like yours and mine down every time we say what it actually is. And these mechanisms are the same ones that came in 2016 and 2020, and they've been in existence since, honestly, they were cooked into the inception of Google. So, I know what I'm dealing with here.
Do you see a world where maybe this is all changed and we talk about it and we go, remember when YouTube punished anyone who didn't go align with their narrative? Remember those days, how hard it was? Do you think we'll get to a day like that?
I do. I really, really do.
Will it be on YouTube, though?
No, I don't think so. I don't think, well, maybe. I mean, it's hard to say that. Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be. The conversation, what you just said, it's a reason why I love ICP. ICP is more of a virtue, hope in humanity that we can have a true Web3 experience where it's decentralized, immutable, and not controlled by these dark figures in the corners with their hands on the lever of information, right? That is the hope with ICP. But on the flip side, we're probably going to have to wait and fight like hell for 10 years to get there, even from this point that we're in right now.
10 years.
Yes, 10 years. But you know what? 10 years is not that long.
Goes by fast.
Yeah, it does go by fast. I remember 2014, 10 years ago, kind of feels like yesterday. I was watching the Bundy Ranch standoff, right? The Bundy Ranch standoff.
What's that?
And you should check it out.
Was that the one up in the forest where they all got sniped?
No, the Bundy. Okay. No. Bundy Ranch was actually the U.S. agencies trying to capture land and cattle from generational farmers on their land.
Yep. Yeah, I do remember that now.
They found out, right?
10
but
years
then they
ago?
didn't give up. Yes, that was 10 years ago. Time flies. And then, also in that same time frame, we had Uncle Joe go over to Ukraine and shake down the attorney general, kick him out, demand billions of dollars. Basically just outward and open blackmail that led to the situation that we see with Russia and Ukraine right now. So.
10 years from now, Bitcoin price.
Oh, man. 2034.
So we'll likely be heading into will it be the this 2 bull runs from now, or it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
third bull run?
yeah. Because if we get through this one, the next one, we'll kick off right around 2028. Um, but you know what? That's going to be going into
2032?
yeah
2030.
2032.
Yeah, so the third
So
bull run from here.
yeah, the third bull run, I think we could accomplish a mill. I think that we could accomplish a $20 trillion market cap for Bitcoin and $1 million per Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It depends on how much inflation's there, though, right?
True. Like, unfortunately, when I think of $1 million Bitcoin, I don't think it's the $1 million that we grew up thinking $1 million would
Mm-hmm.
be, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not a pretty world to think of. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe your Bitcoin's worth $1 million, but the loaf of bread you have to buy is $100.
Yes,
I
yes,
hope that's not the way.
and that's like kind of the dual-edged fight that we have going on right now. It's like, because yeah, we need Bitcoin to keep expanding and keep taking the middleman spot from these elites that are robbing us of our buying power. But we also need to have a focus and in my opinion, a dismantlement of the private entity, right, which is the Federal Reserve. So that's the real thing. That's the ugly part, and that's taking their talons out. And I don't
Right.
think they're going to be doing it very peacefully. So,
No,
yeah,
that
that's
walking through that door of the finally them dismantling the Fed, I don't know. That will have to be at the end of maybe the revolution itself, because they will hold
mhm.
on to that. That's basically their armory, financial
It
armory, that
is.
they'll never let go of.
It is. It is. And like, I talk to people about how powerful Bitcoin is. I really feel like the movement of monetary value, it's almost like monetary speech, because where our money is going to and from speaks louder than our words, and then our words are protected by the Second Amendment, or a community demanding to be heard. um, I think that the monetary movement and the control mechanisms within these systems that we just mentioned are actually more important than anything else to humans, but also governments. I think that that's the main reason why they're here, is to control that monetary flow, to tax it, and then to push people down into a state of servitude by overtaxing, overprinting, and then controlling everything there within. So that's a major battle to get to that point. But I'm an optimist. I'm a cautiously, over cautiously optimistic about the future of humanity. I think we got a chance still. I think we got a chance.
Today, Old Scotch on the Rocks, Booze Breath, Jerry Pow Pow, in between drinks on the links, is going to have an announcement, and in between is silent after lunch burps. You know that old men do this
Oh yeah.
when they're burping up their scotch. They're just like, yeah, yeah, and you can hear the ice jangling. Do you think there's going to be bullish doves coming out of his booze breath, or what?
I do. I really, really do. We saw a Federal Reserve governor yesterday say that they can keep the pressure on, but they're just posturing, in my opinion. And a lot of people say you can't guess what they're going to do. You can't guess. I've been, I guess, guessing for a Fed rate cut at the end of this year for the entirety of this year. And now it's came out that they've been operating off of 1.2 million jobs that were not there, right? They were hoisting up this bullish economy, and the economy is resilient. There's still people getting jobs. Wait, 1.2 million of them weren't there to begin with. And on top of that, a large contingent of the jobs being had are within the federal government and the medical industrial complex. So,
Right.
God, yeah. If you factor those two things in, the average person, we know it. We see it in downtown main streets. We see people struggling to get by. It's clearer to the average person if you're paying attention to your neighbor and you care about them and you talk to them. But the lie that they've been selling, I think, is coming to an end, not only because of those job numbers, but because there is a large refinancing movement that's going to be hitting commercial real estate very, very shortly.
Tidal
And that
wave.
refinance, yes, it's a tidal wave. You just said it. And if they have to refinance at these high rates, 200, 300 banks are going to go out overnight in the United States. So they're not going to let, do they really want to see that happen? I
Only
think
if
that
they
they
really
just want
want
to
to see it
control us.
happen, right? So
I
there's
know.
like normal people will be like, well, that's crazy. They would never let that happen. But what if they
What
ultimately need that to happen?
here's
So,
a scary thought. What if the orange one gets in and then they just push it to happen in anyways?
well, I mean, if the orange one gets in, I tend to think that the ultimate test is on, because we have our own version of orange. We have this guy named Pierre. He's kind
Mm,
of, aligned with more freedom and autonomy, and we'll get out of your business type of politics, if that's even possible. But
hmm
I think the true test is if orange gets in and nothing changes, we will now know without a shadow of a doubt that there is a shadow government that runs
Yeah,
everything, and anything else is just a puppet that they put in that makes the
yeah.
people that voted orange go yes, and they're happy for,
Right.
I don't know, 6 months, and then the people that didn't vote orange are mad for 6 months. But that's why I want that to happen, because I'm a true believer that small cults run the world, and these are
hmm
just tiny little puppets that they install. So we
Yeah.
talked about this last week with
I think
having
about it every day. I'm right there with you on it. And you're dead right. If he does get in place and we don't see a massive cut on these useless federal employees, and we don't see a massive movement to, give the American public some hope that they're not being arbitraged out of existence in the middle and lower class, you're dead right. That will be completely obvious to the average person. So, I mean, there is a silver lining there.
there was a point in time where some of the things, or maybe all the things that have occurred in the past 4 years, would have kickstarted a revolution. And I'm not
Mm,
sure that the population has the oompapa, the backbone, or enough of the population that is has it
hmm
to first start it and then carry through with it without the rest of the population, poo-pooing it and ending it for them. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
have, even though it's in their best interest, they will do whatever they can to sabotage the revolution if and when it ever happens.
Well, and I think that, when we saw what happened in 1776, it wasn't like, majority of Americans were ready to go fight the largest military organization on the planet with the most resources. Like a vast majority of America was trying to stay out of it. It only took a small contingent of Americans to go start it
One
and lead
second.
by example. What's that?
Sneaky Pete Vaporizers. Well, he's a Canadian with a super chat. He says, tanks and banks. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you for the super chat, Sneaky
Tanks
Pete.
and banks. He just came up with a new saying, tanks and banks. I
Tanks
love
and
it.
banks. Also, thank you for the
Absolutely love it.
memberships, Misco. I saw that before the 5 for Friday. You are the Oprah Winfrey of this channel. Thank you again. Continue, Drew.
No, I mean, yeah, supporting channels like pianomattyb and the basement, like we are going to be under fire, you guys. So we very much appreciate that. But yeah, I think that leading by example, being that spark, that 2%, 3% of the population that's willing to go start that spark, we saw it historically against the largest military organization on the planet previously to get America started in the first place. And once the people, the other 40, 50, 60% that wanted to stay out of it, that just wanted to keep, getting controlled by redcoats and wanted to just, stay alive, they saw that things got serious and then decisions were made there within. And then that's where you see the actual flow of people. But they need to see someone out there acting as a leader, acting strong for them to feel comfortable doing so. So, I really think that it is. It's definitely still within the American people's, mindset. Now, my biggest question is the physical capabilities because they've been given
Right.
Coca-Cola, they've been given, Netflix, and all of these little candy items to make them much more squishy than they were back
That's,
then.
yeah.
We had a much different type of person, putting together their own home, largely self-sufficient in comparison to where we're looking at right now. So that is a big question, and that is something that I do. I've found a community that does have a large amount of their own gardens and a large amount of their own chickens, but you have to move to the wood hood, basically all the way out in the sticks, to find those kinds of people. And it really feels like it's the right place for me. But the average person, I feel like, is trying to just stay in city centers and have a walking distance from their Starbucks and then a walking distance to their house, to their apartment.
Yeah,
So
and the concept of 15-minute cities to them are like, hey, that would be actually pretty nice.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
could walk to all my weird things. Would you consider yourself demographically, I guess, are you a millennial?
I mean, I was born in '88, so I don't know exactly what you would call me. Is that a millennial?
I don't know.
I'm 36 years old. I don't keep track of that stuff. I mean, I think that, I grew up in music. I grew up surrounded by liberal people. I grew up in Boulder County. I grew up with this large culture that was, basically built to indoctrinate people into liberalism. I always felt like a black sheep, watching people fall into that. Apparently, I am a millennial.
Yeah.
Thank you, C90FTW. So, yeah, I guess so. But, really seeing that being shoved down people's throats, and seeing and listening to people, because I still conversate with them. I want to get their logical reason for why they support what they support. It just made no sense to me at a point, and so I turned hard right, hard right for a while, and especially when I had my kids, especially when I had a big family, especially when I had more to fight for than just myself in my tour van and my metal band. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the moment that woke me up there. But I guess I am a millennial. What's the new generation? What do we call the new generation?
Zoomers? I don't know.
Zoomers? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a look at
I
this
gotta-
thing about millennials.
Okay.
If you're under the age of 40, you've been so screwed. If we were playing Monopoly, there's one player on the board. He already owns all the property. There's a couple dollars sitting in front of the other 3 seats, and the millennials were asked to come up and play the game. And the bank is adding more money into the board, but they're giving it to the player that already owns all the equity. This is the life of the millennial. What Bitcoin is the 3 millennials, they flip over the whole table, and then they beat the one player who started the game over the head with the table. The other person grabs the Monopoly board and hits him in the crotch, and they take all the paper fiat and they shove it in his mouth. That's what Bitcoin is.
Oh my God, I love that. Did you see my tweet this morning? I reminded people Jesus went in there and flipped over some tables and started whipping MFers. You know what I mean? He's not no wuss. Everyone tries to talk about him being a wuss. I don't think so. That is very serious though, because the class that I graduated with, a lot of them, even though they came from pretty affluent houses, they have got 2 pennies to rub together right now. They're trying to barely survive in Colorado. Like the cost of living in Colorado has absolutely skyrocketed. And I had to basically flee the place from a political standpoint and a financial standpoint, because I wanted to raise a family. I have 4 kids. And there is no way on God's green earth I would go back to Colorado with how far things have gotten there. Like the average house is like $700,000-800,000, and even the cost of goods is just crazy. So, thinking about that, it is pretty sad for me to think about all my colleagues and people that I went to school with that did the right thing, that they were told to go to school and just be a good person. Yeah, you'll be able to retire. They're getting rugged. Even people like my dad's a boomer, and they rugged him of his retirement. They had to oh yeah.
That's what I got to do for likes these days, Drew.
There you go. Hey, man. Like the damn show, you people. What are you doing? It makes me sad thinking about even how hard my father worked. He was one of the key members that helped build up Lexmark International. And, at the rate of inflation and everything that's happened, he actually had to get back into the workforce. By all rights, with the amount of work that my dad's done, he served the military as a tank gunner. He built a massive organization up as a lead senior chemical engineer. He went to one of the most affluent engineering schools in the country, School of Mines, out there in Golden, and he still had to go back to work to keep things going. It's just gut-wrenching, because where is the end goal? Do they just keep you in this hamster wheel, just spinning no matter how hard you work? So that is the dark reality for a lot of people that are sitting here hoping that their 401k, their retirement plan is going to save them and get them out of it, and they can finally relax when they're 67 or whatever years old. You're thinking about it, your knees are blown, your back is blown, you're tired, and you miss the juiciest, most explosive part of your lifetime. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean?
You waste
That's
it.
where Bitcoin gives that power to, and we see younger people speaking with high level of knowledge, even though they have these silly NFT things on their profile picture. They have been woken up to, guess what? I don't have to be stuck in that rat wheel anymore. I can go find a way to DCA into Bitcoin every day. I've even seen some of them go and find insane meme coin projects and completely change their life. And it really turns this switch on in their brain where it's like, I don't have to be a slave to that rat wheel anymore. I have an escape opportunity. Bitcoin is that escape opportunity that we have right now, and I'm very bullish that I'm alive in a time frame where I see that chance for humans. That's exciting to me.
As a Bitcoin dad, what are your plans education wise, as like when it comes into them getting their own life and having to sustain their own life financially? What does it
Mm-hmm.
look like for your daughters, and what does it look like for your son?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a good thing to talk about. For example, my son, he's pretty bad with money. He spends every dollar he gets on candy or small toys. You know what I mean? But half of the time, he will choose to take his allowance in Bitcoin. So then I'll buy him a little Bitcoin, and he has his own wallet. My daughter, right around 70% of the time she wants the fiat currency, but about 30% of the time she'll be like, all right, give me some crypto then. And so I'll get her some Bitcoin in a separate one. But my daughter last night, she's basically the kid bank, right? Because I don't keep any cash around. So my son comes up to me, he's like, Dad, tomorrow's ice cream day. Okay, I want to get ice cream. I swear to God, I'm not going to get the red 40. I'm going to get the cookies and cream. He's
The
like
fact he
promising
knows
up and
red
down.
40.
Yeah, no, absolutely, he does. And so he's like, I need $2, and I'm like, I don't keep any cash around, but we got to talk to the kid bank here in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn's more responsible about saving, right? So she's got this, and so I'm like, Brooklyn, loan me $2. I'm going to give you 50% interest in 1 day's time on
Too
this,
good
and
to
I
be
make sure
true, Dad. This sounds like some sort of staking protocol.
it is. And so she sits there, does the math. She's like, does that mean that I get $1 tomorrow more than I'm giving you today? So I get $3 back? I'm like, yes, that's right, dear. If you give Bronson $2 right now, tomorrow I'm going to give you 3 back in payment for your loan. And so she lit up and she scuttles into her room, and now she's, so I'm kind of I'm got Luna vibes right there for sure. I make it a part of their daily life. You know what I mean? And also I make them work on the yard, take care of the baby chickens. We got a bunch of new baby chickens. I find different things that they can help with to earn that money. And then, they can decide what to do with it. I do make sure that my boy tries to save at least half his money, either in fiat or crypto. He always chooses the crypto. He doesn't keep cash laying around. He's kind of like me. So, I really kind of have fun with it, honestly. And my youngest daughters, I have twin girls that just turned. Well, they're now 3.5. They're no longer in preschool, Maddie. They're not my babies anymore. They graduated. They're now pre-K, and they're in a whole new classroom, and they don't cuddle me anymore. So I'm super sad. I've had the chance to have like a baby type experience for a
Right.
long time now, and that's it, man. They're growing up on me, so I just got to keep the lessons going for them and keep them working hard. I keep them working hard, and I set requirements for, respecting the house, putting the house back together. Then you get payments back. So, yeah, it feels good.
The federal report today predicted possible catastrophic warming of the Earth by the 1990s with a strong climate change.
What the scientists are telling us, we don't get our act together within the next 8 or 9 years. We're talking about cities all over the world, major cities going underwater.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a
It's coming.
scam that
It's been
is.
coming for a long time, but it's coming now and more
Well,
than
and
ever.
something opposite happened of what they were saying. Okay, so now the scientists are scrambling to find a reason why the Atlantic Ocean is cooling at exponential rates, right? They're like completely backwards, but within the doom and gloom that they try to sell us in the climate change, I even saw this story. A Quebec climate change conspiracy theorist pled guilty to
Hold on a
starting
sec.
14 fires.
Quebec climate change conspiracy theorist. So does
Yes.
that mean they don't believe in climate change?
They were pushing the agenda that it was
Oh,
all
okay.
going to end because of climate change. This
Right.
guy pleaded guilty to starting 14 fires in Quebec, right?
To fuel his narrative. Look,
To fuel
it's
the narrative. It's
crazy.
incredible. And I had a feeling that this was going on. This is not proven. I know that a few people have been convicted in the United States, but I felt like it was a decentralized move by
Mhm.
these alarmists. And I had, my local town, the town that I grew up in, burned to the ground. It
The entire
tangibly
town.
affected the entire town. It was a beautiful town. It was an affluent. It was called Rock Creek in Boulder, Colorado. Very nice houses, very safe community. And then all of a sudden, we got the climate extremists going all over the place saying, "Hey, we're all going to die." And meanwhile, fires are starting across the nation at the same time, and that burned my hometown to the ground. I had 3 different houses within that hometown, and they all got destroyed from that. It's
Wow.
absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And people don't remember the Dust Bowl. They sit here complaining about how hot this last summer was or how hot the summer before was. Keep in mind the Dust Bowl got up to extremely hot temperatures in the 20s
Mhm.
and 30s, and there's even moments in the early 1900s where we had 200-mile-an-hour winds rip through Colorado. Okay, so the world gets extreme at times.
Yeah.
The Earth, it's a violent mover. Yes, you go through your day-to-day life and you can generally feel out the climate and how it's going to be, but things get weird often. And, that's another reason why it's good to prep, just in case because the SHTF doesn't necessarily have to be the grid goes down or we see the UN driving down the street. It can also be a tornado or heavy rains that cause a lot of chaos. There's a lot of different factors in life that come at you quick. So.
Were you, as a kid, did you have to go through the acid rain fear?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was there to the acid rain fear. I was there to the Y2K fear. Smash the like if you remember Y2K.
What
Duke's
happened to
just
acid
saying
rain?
that. That's completely. They don't talk about it anymore. They
What
do
happened
not
to the
talk
hole
about
in
it
the
anymore.
ozone? Remember that one? There was a hole in the ozone too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and something that's also not talked about is there's crazy things like these old copper coiled systems. They've been
Mhm.
using these. They have huge ones, and it actually, to a degree, does pull out. It cleans the air of the CO2. Like there's regular ways that we've been able to reduce that emission. But you know what? Who's the boogeyman in the emissions conversation? It's always America. It's never China or
Right.
India, who's producing 95% of the raw plastic products. It's always America that they want to clamp down on, and none of those other countries. And that's the extremely unfair portion of the conversation. Beyond people trying to push me into an electric vehicle when I drive an hour and a half one way into the city, and then I have to drive an hour and a half back out of the city. I'm not going to use an electric vehicle to do that. I don't trust the distance on that. I don't want to sit there and pay exorbitant amounts of money to refill the electricity in the vehicle. And I also don't know how to fix electric vehicles myself. I
Right.
want to be able to work on the vehicle myself. And that's what a lot of these alarmists don't get. They're just like, "Drew, you got to do it because it's a cult and you're a movement now with us." And it's like, no, I don't. I don't have to move with you. And I'm going to keep my oil burning, dead dinosaur loving vehicle till the end. Absolutely.
The good news is there's some quick fixes to how bad America is with the pollution. First one, Drew, is paper straws are a good way to limit the pollution worldwide if you use a paper straw. And of course, when you go shopping, don't use a plastic bag.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all so backwards, man. Really, where's the real conversation should be reusing what you already have, right? Like everyone just like complains that plastic bags exist. How about if you just reuse the plastic bag a bunch of times across the country? They are outputting less. Okay, like, and that's the personal responsibility on all of us. My wife runs a sustainable fashion company, for instance, and she reuses shirts like this fast fashion stuff. She will cut this into thin strips, make a whole new sheet of cloth out of it, and
Mm.
then produce a brand new product out of it. It's not easy, it's not cheap, but if you just reuse and regenerate, then you're really talking about something that makes a difference. What up, dude? Smack the like. Let's get this thing over 62,000 today. I want that move, man.
That's the problem too. Like with anything that is good lasts long and ultimately has your best interest at heart. It takes a lot
Mm-hmm.
of work, like good natural food. It's not easy. It's
Mm-hmm.
not cheap. But the alternative is, well, how much are you going to pay at the end of your life for your horrible health? And I
Yes, and how
get
much will your family pay for that? Right? They're
right
going to have to take care of you. That's a
the
big
convenience of
cost.
we as a child of the 80s, I think I lived out of a pizza pop box for every lunch. But I still believe that the pizza pops in the 80s were still somewhat healthier than most of the food now because they hadn't
Yeah,
been completely um, got rid of all the nutrients in the 80s. There was still some semblance of, well, we can't make it horrible for you, even though it was
mm-hmm.
pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, they go
An
through extra
economic
steps.
bombshell basically just went off in the United States, and it shows just how bad the American economy is right now. But basically, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has now revised these numbers that the Biden administration told us about, and it turns out 818,000 jobs that the Biden-Harris White House claimed that they created do not exist.
Where'd they go?
Where'd they go, Joe?
Now,
You
the
did it,
shocking
Joe.
aspect is that they lied. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we all know the government doesn't lie to you. But
Mm-hmm.
what's going on?
Well, and I'm happy that it's now publicly known that they lied. But guess what? The mainstream media, they've spent like 20 seconds covering this. Like, I think I saw ABC and another major organization had done zero airtime on it. I think Fox News did maybe freaking 20 seconds highlighting it
Mm-hmm.
because those legacy organizations, they're in the pockets. They don't want to expand the conversation of how big the lie really is.
That's not their job. Their job is to
No,
gaslight the public.
absolutely. And they don't cover the fact that food and gasoline, fuel is not accounted for in the inflation levels as well. So it's also backwards to see those fake numbers used to keep these interest rates high, because now we're going to have a too little too late movement by the Federal Reserve. And in my opinion, I think that we're still going to have a great bull market for 2025 just because of, the essential. If we actually, either way, Kamala or Trump gets into office, they're going to print on Kamala's side, and on Trump's side, we're going to have
Yeah.
a narrative of a Bitcoin backed dollar. So either which way that goes, I think crypto is going to do really, really well, especially Bitcoin. But, now that the lie is being more mentioned and people know about it on X or channels like yours, I think that there's no hiding it. And I think that, the major fund managers are going to see the writing on the wall. I'm also watching NVIDIA very, very closely because it is highly speculative and the revenue is not there to match it as far as the valuations. They'll probably have a year, maybe 2 years to keep cooking it to the moon, and then things are going to get real nasty, in my opinion, after that. So,
Well, one of the things I think about when it comes to the economy being decimated on purpose in order to print away and take the interest rates down, by the time that happens, this is what my fear for retail is that the normal Joe on Main Street will be so decimated that there isn't any extra scratch to put into this bull market. And
yeah,
then the institutions push it so far that retail was like, well, it's at 200K. What am I going to, how am I going to do that? You know what I mean?
that is why right now is so important for the
For
people that are
sure.
watching this channel and the people that have the gusto to be stacking crypto through this boring time frame. Like, that is where I mean, you guys, you self-custody it for sure. Get it off exchanges, because when the getting is good, but when the getting is bad, as we saw last bear market, exchanges literally go under. Okay, and then you find the ones that have been swimming with no clothes on once the pool is emptied, and they get wrecked. Okay, so you don't want to be in the exchanges at really any point in time. If you go in, you get your crypto, you get it off an exchange, and you take control of the asset. Like, that's the real, and not to mention the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, but the fact that you can self custody it and get it out of the hands of third parties. That is so powerful right now. And the people that are here watching this, you guys need to help us spread the message to the people that are asleep right now, because the people that are asleep right now are going to be the ones complaining when it is at 200K. And they're like, why I can't do this? It's already too gone. I'm already poor now because I didn't listen to the crypto bros in 2024. It's 2020, end of 25, into 26, and I just can't even keep my head above water. This is why we need to be spreading this information as hard and as fast as we can right now, because time is short. I mean, it's only, how many months do we have left in this year? Was it the 8th month? It's almost 9th month. We got like 3 months left.
Yeah. Well, how much months left in the official bull run, do you think?
I think the real, like, the juicy part of the bull run is going to be concluded right around September, November of 2025.
So a year.
That is, yeah. And we're coming right up on it. A year moves fast, right? A year ago.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the bank collapse, this SVB, that was like March of 23 or something like that. When was that? Time, you're making me feel old here. Because I love what I do, and time has just been flying by. Yeah, let's look at here. So yeah, look at this. So that is so important to note. The SVB and the First Republic collapses, Bitcoin had fallen, at the moment, Bitcoin was $20,000, right? We saw the bank collapse happen. That's the signs of sickness within traditional finance, but that was over a year ago. That was almost a year and a half ago now. That is scary. That is absolutely scary. So, wow.
Tell them about a blockchain basement before we say goodbye here on a Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. So blockchain basement, we are focused on marrying the patriots that want their countries to reclaim physical sovereignty with the crypto bros that have the tool necessary to do so. The first and foremost thing that we can do in fighting against these lizard people is by buying Bitcoin and taking it into cold storage and reinstituting a self-sovereignty through gardening, through tactical capabilities, and through finding the best projects in a bull market to act as a pillar of strength for your local community. That is everything that I'm about here in the blockchain basement. And really, I'm not stopping. I mean, there is no stopping us. The algorithm tries to push us out, all kinds of suppression on the channel right now. But regardless of that, we keep growing because people are hungry for the truth, and we will not stop by any means.
Make sure you like and subscribe and share